Exactly. He's kind of the only jungler here who can play Rengar, so I feel like every single game you fight against Legacy, you first ban Rengar, pull it off the table. As we saw from Worlds, those who can play Rengar win games. Those who can't play Rengar and still play him lose games, so you got to keep those in mind. Zed away from Choo Choo's, one of his best assassins. Tristana also away from Kotrid, so Chiefs not looking to have to play hyper late game here. They kind of rely on their early game landing phase, and that's kind of par for the course for Chiefs.
Yeah, Ryze and Zillion, the bans there as well. So Legacy also taking some late game threats away here as well. We're going to have a very, very aggressive game, actually. And we're going to just have all mid-game champions left open. Remember, Lucian is still insanely powerful on this patch. Aurelia with the respect to Swiper in the top lane's our next ban as well.
Wow, so interesting. Kha'Zix right away removed out, although Carbon considered a great Lee Sin player on himself, though, and that one's not gone away. I'm very surprised to see a Kha'Zix grab so early when both those top tier junglers are available.
It's one of those things where, again, when you take out Rengar, the junglers actually share pretty much all the champions at the top. We've got Lee Sin, we've got Kha'Zix, and they both play Jarvan well as well. So I guess Kha'Zix is just the most versatile. It gives you the most options from the jungle, and a very valuable first pick here, especially with Ryze banned.
Yeah, personally, I'm not a huge fan of the Kha'Zix just because I actually think he's a little bit situational in that you can end up running him over with early pressure. He doesn't do much early on, akin to a Nocturne. Legacy right away pull their bot lane in. I like these early picks. To me, Thresh, Janna, the big top two supports here. That's going to be a good pick up there. The Lucian as well, the most sought after AD carry after maybe Trist. So I think great early picks for Legacy. I'm just honestly very surprised by Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, just something they want to make sure Spooks is comfortable, I suppose.
Sure.
Again, when these junglers don't perform for these teams, they look like very different teams. So want to make sure he's comfortable. We've got a couple of interesting things. That Shaco is just some fun for you guys, but that is a very real possibility that Tryndamere can be played. Swiper is basically the only top laner that plays really heavy carry champions still.
I just don't think you would blind pick a Tryndamere to be completely fair. I did tell Spooks yesterday that he better play Shaco, but I just enjoy when people bring out things that are different and new. So Janna, there we go, the other top support picked up. So both solo lanes now being saved for last pick by Chiefs on the blue side. That's smart blue team because it lets you counterpick one lane as you give a counterpick away to red side, as they always get that. So I think smart to sort of pick roles that have already been seen and saving the solos here.
Yep, so want to save Radio there. They've got the Maokai, but he's very safe in the top lane, so not really a worry there. And we're going to go over with the mid, of course, as well. And that's pretty common in these sort of matchups where Swiffer and Choo Choo's are two really strong mid players, arguably the two best in the region. Choo Choo's, I like this pick. It's weird that he's not counterpicking, but very safe here with the Syndra and Lee Sin as well.
Yeah, I don't know why I thought Maokai wasn't going to be a top lane today. I'm like, yeah, they're saving their solo lane picks with the Maokai. So yeah, interesting that they're actually not going for the counterpick. You're right there, considering that I think their top lane pick for something special. Oftentimes when you see something like this, it's because it is a unique champion, not one of those standard plug-and-play top laners, and you don't want your opponents to be able to react comp-wise to what that top lane is going to bring, and so now Legacy gets to pull their entire comp together with no reactions possible for Chiefs.
Yeah, we talked about it as well. All these late-game champions getting banned out. Look at this lineup now for Chiefs. They complete it with Corki and Jace. This is just all mid-game all the time. This is exactly how the Chiefs want to start off game one.
All right, and I like the Corki pickup as well, bringing some magic damage in since you're not going to have that much from Maokai. And you've got the Jace mid plus Kha'Zix jungle coming in there. Rumble is going to be the grab here for Legacy, so they're saying, guys, we actually want some early game, mid-game team fight power. They're structuring their comp that way. We saw a lot of Maokai versus Rumble over at Worlds. It honestly felt like a pretty coin flip matchup where if Maokai could position himself properly, if they could actually block out a lot of that Rumble ulti damage, that equalizer, it worked out okay. Although a lot of teams really liked playing Rumble into Maokai, and we saw some success there.
Yeah, and I can tell you right now, I don't think we're going to be seeing any Rumble Maokai right now. Chiefs do not want to go near that lane in a 1v1 situation. They're comfortable with Swiper's ability, but when they play against Rumble, they love to lane swap and try and get a really early dragon, like 3 minutes. That completely throws up Rumble's level 6 timing.
It does.
Because he's all about those early dragons.
I mean, the thankful thing with a 3-minute dragon is it respawns at 9, which isn't much later than like an average top laner's level 6. So that's not horrible, but it of course does let you walk into that fight with a 1,000 gold lead if everything else goes equal, which can help you tip that back in your favor and make that a bit of a closer fight, or just simply set up the map. Because of lane swaps, honestly, a 9-minute dragon often leaves open turrets for pushing because the lanes become so very strange by that point in the game. So definitely something that Chiefs can outplay, and as arguably the longest sort of together team in Oceania, they've got that sort of strategic understanding. These players are all used to playing competitive, and it's one of those things where when you transition from solo queue to playing competitively, there's so many things you have to ingrain into your head. Like, oh, as an AD carry, I have to be ready to roam mid much earlier than I normally would in solo queue. As a support, I need to ward for more lanes than just my own. As a jungler, I've got to buy 5 times as many wards as I would in solo queue and ward for my top laner, or get deep wards over the Raze so I can track their jungler, which means more in competitive. And the fact that these players have been doing that for so long can help them outplay very standard foreseeable team fights.
Yep, so we're going to see what happens to kick things off. We're in a game 1 here between Chiefs and Legacy. Chiefs are going to be on the blue side to kick things off, and over on the Legacy side, they'll be on the red side, of course, here. And I think when you look at these comps at face value, Freak, it is just all brawl all the time. It is
very brawly. The cool thing is, well, there's a lot. It's not going to be too much you can recall, but there is a lot of pick potential. That's the one thing I see very special here in Legacy. Syndra and Thresh both, even Lee Sin, if you get it right, have amazing ways of starting out fights that people didn't expect, or picking people off that didn't see it coming. And then suddenly a 5v4 means a free dragon. So because of that, Legacy have a lot of really good ways at playing around objectives. Whereas Chiefs, all they've really got in their own favor is the 2 poke champions, the Jace and the Corki. So I expect to see a lot of sort of long-range abilities, but it means more if Legacy hits theirs, because it means a kill as opposed to like 400 damage.
Yeah, absolutely. But the thing I do like about Jace as well is not just a great poke champion. Acceleration get when you have champions like Kha'Zix and Maokai in your team. You can just kind of go in, as Spawn likes to say, and line back at the enemy team and just run them straight in. So there's a lot of brawl and pick potential on both sides. It's just kind of different, as you said. Very forward-facing for Chiefs and very poke-heavy, very like pick-heavy for Legacy.
Yeah, and it's interesting to, as you talked about, linebackering it, because there's actually a lot of champions on Legacy that are good against linebackers. Honestly, if you run into an Equalizer, you lose the fight. If you run into a Thresh box, you lose the fight. If you run into Syndra, she'll knock you back and you still lose the fight. Not only that, like the Lucian is made for kiting people while dealing damage, so linebackering honestly isn't very good against Legacy. They have a disengaged support, which works when you're trying to play poke. Problem is, they're playing poke against pick, which is very difficult.
So we'll have to see the Chiefs will kind of navigate an interesting mid-game. Of course, the junglers could completely throw all this out the window. Yes. And that is one of our focuses in this matchup. Absolutely, Carbon versus Spooks. Kind of saw it in the video as well. Spooks feels very confident. And apparently talking to Choo-Choos as well, he basically thinks whichever team wins the first game is going to win the series no matter what.
Well, chances are pretty high at that point, because you're requiring a team to 2-0 you, which, you know, if you're equal skilled teams, is a really difficult thing to do at that point. So I definitely think that first game is a huge advantage here. Also talking about that jungle matchup you said, I think there's a small edge to Carbon just because I personally respect Lee Sin a lot more than I do Kha'Zix, and it gives you room to make these early plays. Think about the fact that he's ganking for a Thresh or for a Syndra, and he's got really high percentage ganks in the early game.
So we actually have shaken out with standard lanes as well. So we're going to have Corki, Lucian running into each other. Hook does land there on the raid. Cardra going to go, but an instant shield there by Rosie. They're just going to trade back and forth. But that is a win for Legacy's bottom lane.
What a great hook by Egypt. Max range Radier just did not respect it. He could have walked backwards, didn't think he'd get hit there. And suddenly a really good trade. No potions left for the AD carry, and he's only going to be at half health afterwards.
And when we talk about these two supports, we just talk about the insane mechanics that both of them have. Eggum is one of the best, if not the most mechanically proficient support in the region. Goes again.
Look at that!
You're going to go in. Exhausted goes down. Forced to Valkyrie out. Does pop the heal as well. But it's going to keep brawling here. Rosie actually doing quite a bit of damage on this Janna with that Spell Thief Sedge. But Radier is so low.
That's one of the things I really like about Spell Thieves, even on a champ like Janna, who doesn't always harass very much, is you're actually a very scary damage threat, more than people tend to respect out of you. And so even though Radier's pretty much screwed, and he's got no way of getting his health back up, it still requires a hook to land. There's not that much poke available unless you can land a Q from Kadra.
And kind of hilariously enough, we have flashes left for all 4 members of these bottom lanes, but Raider's going to be stuck under this turret, trying not to get poked too hard, while Lucian definitely doesn't want to get hooked again. So Spooks is actually hanging out here in the bottom lane.
Every single time a Piercing Light lands, it's like one more wave that Raider's going to have to sacrifice at some point, because he's getting lower and lower. Again, has no major regen. The big drawback of Janna is you're not good against poke. You can barely ever reflex shield Piercing Lights and things like that. So your health bar is just going to go down.
Yeah, so Raider going to struggle a little bit here. Corki, I think, slightly favored in this matchup, although it's very, very close. These are 2 very aggressive AD carries.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is at this point, you've gotten 2 really good hooks and a double play after one of them. So this matchup is kind of a ticking time bomb where Radier, I don't think, can stay in lane very easily unless a gank comes in like this.
Yeah, Spooks is going to come in. He must know that the flashes are still here in Legacy. Looks like they've already sniffed it out. That is Spidey senses tingling there for the bottom. They're actually going to go back in. Does use the E. Rosie can't quite find the knockup. It does actually, but the Lancer gets him out. Swiper, meanwhile, on the top lane, gets aggressed on. That's great pressure from Carbon.
That's going to be, I mean, thankfully, the teleport is still available for Swiper, but forcing a Maokai to teleport before his Catalyst Gold actually gives you a lot of room to make some plays. Another hook. He's in turret range!
Check does get played back, forced to leap out there. E-Jim going massive already, kind of like calibrating these hooks. He's hit every single one.
Oh my god, and I just wonder how the mind game's going to continue. Normally, you can guess which way Hook's going to go. You get a full half second to guess, wait, where did he aim that one? And so far, no one's been able to outpredict E-Jim. I love this Thresh play.
So Swiper does indeed teleport back to the top lane. Curious to see if Tallywacker wants to go for that as well. I think he doesn't mind, because that early teleport usage actually means that that dragon fight that Chiefs kind of want to force soon, the next 1 to 2 minutes, just isn't happening right now.
And look at that. Tallywacker chooses to walk back to lane. Of course, very smart around the teleport timing. They know they will have this. There will be no Maokai to stop the equalizer. And the funny thing is, just the threat of teleport can be enough for Chiefs to not even contest anyway. Tallywacker might not even need to use the cooldown to claim a dragon.
And you've been talking about Worlds, of course, that Tono, you've been recently at, which was great.
A little bit.
That I managed to catch the finals of, which was spectacular in Korea. But we saw a lot of teleport baits just from teleports either being cancelled or just being actually manually cancelled as well. People get baited quite easily by that spell.
Yes, they do. And you've got to be careful to not get caught up by this one. Look at that. Counter jungling by Carbon. Good dodge by Spooks, though.
Going to get aggressive. Swiffer going to move as well. Stun just lands there onto Spooks, and he kind of wants to take his jungle back to Blue Red, though. Nice. Still away by Choo-Choo's. Who smited that, actually? Looks like Carbon did secure that.
Yeah, Cadre, though, taking a bit of damage to the bot lane. Now that the first recall has come back, Radier, unfortunately, a poor recall timing. Only Ruby Crystal Longsword. Pretty weak stats compared to the pickaxe here of the Lucian. Means lane advantage once again for Cadre, and they should be able to keep pushing an advantage here.
Yeah, and you can just see Carbon is taking over the red side jungle here on the side of Chiefs. They can ping him out, but the great tag team in mid. Syndra can just walk in, is so great at assisting, and Jace is okay from long range, but you don't nearly bring the same amount of burst or CC that Syndra does in any sort of 2v2 skirmish in the jungle.
And especially this early on, until Jace really powers up, he doesn't bring that much. Top lane fight, though, is just kind of the standard stuff here, but because Swiper has no good way of getting his mana back up, he had to TP so early on, he's so far away from Catalyst. He can't keep doing that. He's forced to recall and miss half a wave just for a trade like that.
Yeah, did manage to push the wave in the turret, so not going to be too bad in terms of loss, yes, but does need to go back and chop. Will have to walk back, as you mentioned. Doesn't even finish the Catalyst, actually.
Right, that's why it's half a wave and not a full wave. I mean, he's trying to brawl at this point. There's this sort of interesting little window where because Tallywacker is injured, the dragon fight's a bit harder. That might have been on purpose here. But realistically, it's Swiper trying to get some damage down, maybe trying to force a teleport out, and then hopefully sort of sync up, just max health, max mana, so we can do something when the dragon pressure does come in.
Carbon is waiting in this bottom lane as well. Kind of trying to force a pick and look for that dragon fight. They could maybe just walk over to it and start it anyway. 8 minutes, pretty par for the course in terms of standard first dragon times, and they're just going to run for it. They know Tally's based already, got his items, and he's got his teleport. This should be a free dragon here for Legacy.
Absolutely perfect. Still a full minute on the Chiefs teleport top lane. Tallywacker finished the Haunting Guys. You can see no one's even trying. Chiefs just grabbed the blue buff, and the Grumble pick pays off. Great play by Tallywacker to get his team the first dragon.
Yeah, first major edge there does go to Legacy. Swiver picks up his blue buff, but that's not quite the objective he might have wanted. I do like the decision for Chiefs, though. Just don't contest. Don't even go near that dragon.
There is one greedy thing Chiefs could have done, though, is realize the red buff respawn was coming up there, stolen that, probably gotten 3 buffs off of the sort of second buff rotation, realizing that dragon was going to be the likely objective right then off of a Rumble recall.
Yep, just kind of looking through the lanes as well. Items starting to come out. You mentioned Rumble holding, guys. That is up now for Tallywacker. We've got Catalyst on the way here, but Swiper's not having the best time here, although he's 10 CS ahead, so that's not too bad. Jungle items on the way for first. Looks like it will have Spirit of the Elder Lizard. And we've got pretty much mana items in the mid. Chalice versus Tier there. And then, as you said, a Phage now completed for Corki. And looks like Pickaxe into Infinity Edge eventually. Although an early Brutalizer for Cadre, it seems like.
So I do like this general sort of build. I actually do like early Brutalizer Lucian builds. It gives you a lot of early pressure. Problem with this timing, though, is Dragon's already gone. There's nothing to, like, power spike for another 5 minutes. You've clearly seen that Rosie and Radier, despite catching a lot of hooks early on, despite being harassed on a bunch early on, are holding up in CS and not losing lane. So props to them, but it also means there's not much reason to, like, go for these greedy early game item builds by Legacy because there's going to be no payoff for it.
That's a good point. Maybe just kind of want to, all right, we're in a farmland, fine. I'll farm to my IE and we'll go from there. Swiffer, by the way, that was some fancy footwork. Oh, Spook's actually down here as well. The grab nose command, he finds Radiant. Beautiful triple play by Ejim, but they're going to keep going on. He's still alive as this Thresh, and Radiant takes a ton of damage there from Lucian. Very close to first blood, but a beautiful defense in the bottom.
And that is one extra summoner burned by the Legacy bot lane, though. The exhaust used by Ejim, plus he's going to be forced to recall. That is good news. Chiefs can hard push this. And the thing is, the turret's not defensible unless they bring a defender, which they're not doing.
Yeah, they're actually going to poke Carbon mid lane, it seems like. Instead, he's going to try and gank out onto Swiffer, but Swiffer, once again with a fancy footwork, it seems, he's just dodging all of this pressure.
And honestly, with exhaust and heal down, this is theoretically diveable, but Ray Deer actually screws up, pulls aggro, down to 400 health, but will they dive? Look how low Ejim is.
Yeah, has to be careful. Good poke from the level 6 Corki coming out as well. But they're going to just have to kind of rescind the pressure, it seems like. No one coming out of the Carbon has Zoe rotated down. But again, the low health bars, the unfortunate aggro there by Radiant. I think they'll push this wave in and go back. They don't want to take too many risks. And that's the biggest thing for me in this series.
Yeah.
Almost 11 minutes in, very few risks taken by either team. In fact, I would say 0 risk taken.
Yeah, definitely very few. There have been some smart ganks come in for sure. And I think if Spooks weren't out of mana, you could have still dived that turret, knowing you're only fighting flashes, knowing Rosie has the big heal coming out from the ulti to make that happen. I think that was still a possibility, but even still, created a good recall, let you get Corki back up to full mana, Sightstone in for the Janna as well, of course, very fine. And yeah, I mean, Chiefs, honestly, all they really got to do is get past this early game.
Yeah.
Maokai's going to keep farming up. He's been at an item deficit for a while. He won't catch up to Rumble for quite some time, so bypassing as much of that as possible is a good thing. Also, Swiffer's just simply going to scale, generally speaking, better than a Syndril in the average case. So the longer this game goes, the better for Chiefs.
And I think you kind of harped on the exact champion we want to watch out for right now for Legacy. Rumble is the reason Chiefs don't really want to do anything for about 10 minutes time. But after that point, I think they've actually got quite a lot going on, although a dive is being set up here. Swiffer does know what's going on. Again, all these mid laners.
Well, just the fact that the ward was even there, it's like, oh, someone's waiting right over that wall looking to kill me. So smart, of course, of Swiffer to hide away. I also want to touch on the fact that he brought exhaust to this matchup, knowing that he needs to survive a Syndra all-in. Thankfully for him, exhaust range is almost identical to unleashed power range, so you're almost always going to land that summoner spell in time. But obviously just want to point out that was a smart choice to keep him from getting 1v1s quite as much.
And exhaust one of those mid-lane summoner spells I think we almost don't see enough play of.
I agree.
And I do like it here from Swiffer, absolutely. Down back in the bottom lane though, we are farming away. In fact, Radius found a lead now, 10 CS, although it's shortening pretty quickly as the minions crash into the turret. Just in general, these teams very close, and you can see the laners. Chuchu's slight lead in mid, a slight lead in top lane, and pretty much even in the bottom lane.
Yeah, the laning phases are actually going quite nicely. The only real lead Legacy has gotten was the great teleport play, a gank top lane to force a teleport mismatch, turning that into a dragon. So that was Carbon and Telewick kind of together, making that dragon happen. It was kind of a 4-minute delay, but it was still the right way of doing it. And then otherwise, yeah, nothing much has been going on, as you were talking about a low-risk style for both these teams, although that typically benefits Chiefs.
And Swiffer actually going to rotate up here. I guess they're going to dive Tallywhacker, who's quite low. He's going to shock blast him up. Swiffer can get first blood. He's going to dive into the turret. Equalizer goes down, but an easy first blood as Swiffer flashes out. Great roam.
Definitely beautiful. Carbon very low. The pops heal to Rosie, taking a lot of damage. Good knockback on Ejim.
Yeah, Rosie's going to move him back. There's the teleporter coming through. It's a Swiper. Flashes forward instantly. Karja goes through, but there's an easy arcane blast. And Carbon, though, kicks him back into the turret. Swiper, going to go down as he gets another kill. The double coming up from Maokai. Thresh, though, does get the return kill, but 3-1 now in favor of Chiefs.
Absolutely beautiful stuff right there. The top lane TP advantage, turning a fight around that was otherwise a 3 versus 2. Absolutely beautiful. And that's going to put Chiefs, honestly, in a very good lead. And this dragon time is going to be nice. Rod of Ages is done. This is a decently strong team. Choo-Choo's got poked out in the mid lane as well. This could be bot lane turret plus a dragon setup for Chiefs.
Yeah, it looks like maybe Swiffer's going to go for another shock blast. The first turret of the game, though, will fall down as the Chiefs pick up bottom turret for themselves. And we talked about teleport mismatches in the last play. That was, again, another instance of the top laner having teleport, the other one cannot come in.
Over and over again. Yeah, but that's just so important, though. Like, just creating 5v4s is so darn important. Numbers tend to mean everything when the gold is so close in general. Now, Legacy going for a pretty aggressive play here with a couple of low health members, but again, no teleport for Swiper. He didn't choose to walk towards Dragon. The rest of the team chose to recall. I feel like Dragon honestly could have been contested much more here by Chiefs, and they simply said, well, you know what? We're going to clear waves and kill bottom turret. The recall timing gave a honestly free Dragon to Legacy.
Yeah, that just might be a case of Chiefs not quite being on top of their timers there. And again, it also might have been they wanted to give it up, but interesting stuff there.
They also kind of didn't have the timer. They could have inferred it by the bot lane kind of showing up MIA, then be literally doing the same thing last time around 6 minutes ago. But still, I just feel like that Dragon was contestable. However, this worked out nicely. They chose to get top turret for it. The gold goes fairly close to equal here. I can't hate on the Chiefs' choices too much because they're avoiding those potential really scary mid-game Rumble ultimates.
Yep, just do not get Rumble ultimated in the Dragon Pit. Seems to be the name of the game. Good red buff steal going to come in here as well. Legacy do have a ward in that brush, and Carbon may be trying to snipe it. Spookso does pick it up. Nice combo. And they'll run away with that one. Rotating mid now potentially as well. Going to try and pick up that turret. And 4 members, in fact 5. All 5 of them are here. Bottom turret does go down as Kadra picks someone up. Radiant actually getting himself hooked up as well.
What a good hook there.
Spookso blocks the Q there from Lee Sin. And a great defense by the Chiefs. They're going to go straight down onto this mid turret.
You can see these guys just firing damage back and forth at each other. It's you know, thankfully for Chiefs, they can actually survive Syndra ultis pretty easily. Her all-in's not the scary thing because you've got great reactive shields by Rosie, 2 exhausts on the team in general, and that's not too hard to deal with overall. But you saw how scary it just was right there for Radiant. Off these hooks, off these stunts, good equalizer.
Equalizer does come down. Actually cut Swiffer as well. That's a beautiful hook by Ejim as Tallywhacker is going to clean out that kill on Rumble. And Ejim once again playing so well in this first game.
I love how much synergy is in this lineup. The Rumble ulti was enough of a slow to guarantee the hook coming in. All the follow-up damage. There's so much long-range damage that comes out from Legacy. I like how their comp works in a 5v5. They have so many ways of setting up big plays.
Swiffer, though, despite being dead, has actually chunked down quite a few members of Legacy, but the teleport actually gets cancelled there. Tallywhacker wasn't required. The Syndra wave clear being quite handy in their defense, and they do hold their mid turret.
I'm a little bit surprised that he chose the TP there at all. It's going to be put on a roughly 3.5 minute cooldown. Not too bad, but still a cooldown he didn't really need to lose in this case. Legacy now basically bringing the game back to tied with these picks. Also, we didn't, or we mentioned real quick, Kadra did push the bot lane outer turret down. So these guys have traded pretty close. Legacy still up 2-0 on Dragons, though, which is a very big deal for them.
Yeah, and the poke still coming through. Swiffer has respawn. Spooks gets grounded. There's the ulti coming in. He flashes and Choo-Choo's cleans out that kill. Swiffer, can he get onto Carbon? Oh my goodness, that shield. Just saving the Lee Sin. Swiper's down here as well. But Legacy will disengage.
Oh, that kind of poke, though, and it's only going to get worse from here.
Oh,
they've got to be careful.
Gets Swift up there. Oh, beautiful stun. Stops Ejim mid-death sentence. Swiper now going in. Pops his ultimate. Gets exhausted, though. Can they protect him? They will. And it's just a massive battle. Another hook landing on the Swiffer. Gets flayed back in there as well. But Kadra, he's so low. Radiant is bleeding as well. What is this game?
This game is Ejim just running around destroying people. I feel like even if Chiefs win, Ejim gets MVP regardless because he is like hit 90. Oh my God!
Are you serious? He's gonna go and he actually gets a kill on the Tallywhacker. Does go down though as Carbon cleans out that kill. This hook hit rate is ridiculous though.
Oh my God. Ejim. You are ludicrous, man. This is freaking amazing to watch. I'm so glad I got to see his thrash here today.
Yeah, I mean, we saw his All-Star at the International Wildcard Tournament. Definitely impressed the casters there. Yeah. And impressing both of us here. Again, known for being a very competent mechanical player, but this is just ludicrous was the word you used. I think that's perfect. But Spooks is going to rotate up. They're going to try and aggress on a Carbon. Doesn't want to be anywhere near the Syndra. The Rosie actually found a new friend.
Yeah. Careful there. He's going to be all right for this one. Okay. So let's take stock of this game. We had a lot of crazy things happen in a row. Dragon's still down. Most of the outer turrets are dead. Chiefs, they still want to get to late game. Last Whisper comes in soon for Swiffer. The cool thing about Jace is his poke is longer range than any tool Legacy has outside of like a max range Rumble ulti, which doesn't count.
Not quite, no.
Not really. I feel like it wouldn't be very useful. No one would be able to follow up. But Legacy have hit all their power spikes pretty much right now. There's room to go still for Choo-Choo's, but realistically, everything they want is in their inventories right now. Sightstone's there on Lee Sin, Leandry's there on Tallywhacker. Like, they're good to go.
And talking about power spikes, I love Raiders had this Trinity Pulse for actually quite a number of minutes, and it's definitely helping in the mid-game battles that are happening here. I have to question Kadra's build just a little bit here, Frick. It's not bad. He's going for IE Ghostblade, which is fine. It's just quite greedy.
Well, it's just so spread out. He like started both items at the same time. The fact that he hasn't finished either of them yet I think is kind of a mistake.
Yeah, Choochoo's actually going to clip Radiant with a stun. Swiper going to go in, they want him. Great Lantern out though, and now Swiffer could be in trouble. The boxes get popped. The first hook hits a minion there, as Swiper's just tanking so much damage on this Maokai. Choochoo's on a good multi-man stun. Cardric going to go back and try and pick up Spooks. Egypt misses hooks once again. This is not the same player.
I mean, he missed a single hook. How dare he? I mean, he saved Choochoo's with the Lantern though, but this is the problem with Chief's lineup. It's all damage, no CC. Swiper flash rooted, trying to pick off Choo-Choo's, and then no one could follow up and do anything. A Lantern got him to safety immediately. Thankfully, though, Chiefs did enough damage, which is, again, all they care about is just poking people down with Evolved Void Spikes, with Corki Missiles, with Jay's Poke. That's how they get advantages, as long as they can keep from getting picked off.
Like this. He's kind of out of mana, though. They're going to turn it around. The blast do come out. Tallywhacker going forward. Choo-Choo picks up that kill with Ignite. And Rosie just kind of gonna move in there. Just a few auto attacks. Send a bit of a message to Tallywhacker, but Choo-Choo's very, very heads-up play. And
honestly, very greedy by Swiffer as well to stick around like that one. He got cleaned up, just like his name would suggest.
And now Dragon is actually up as well. Legacy, yeah, perfect timing is right. All 5 members here just got a pick with the Syndra. Choo-Choo's a little low on health, but it's not going to matter. And I think we're seeing maybe one of the issues with Chiefs' draft here is that it is very Jay-centric.
Yes. I mean, and I'm okay with that, and I actually do then understand why they went for Kha'Zix is at the very beginning of the game, they decided, guys, here's the comp we are playing. Here's what we're going for. Let's grab the Kha'Zix. That's going to be contested. We don't want them to steal it. We want to go all in for the poke. And they kept picking champions that would do this. I do like that. I think it's actually very smart to come into a game with a champ select plan and follow through really cleanly. They're relying on Janna as their disengage, so they don't need a Lee Sin for that role. Like, all these things make a lot of sense. All these things work very well. As long as they don't screw up mechanically, as long as they don't do the wrong thing, get caught out, let these hooks land. But of course, as we're seeing from Egypt and Choo-Choo's, that is happening, and Legacy are breaking apart this team comp and then taking Dragon after Dragon after Dragon that they're not getting contested for.
Oh yeah, credit to Agam here. He's hooking the right target every single time. Swiffer is very much the anchor of this particular team comp, and he's playing well, but 3 deaths is probably a few too many than he wanted. He maybe would be happy with 1. And Swiffer is definitely one of those players where he is very emotional, but momentum-based. Spooks are going to get hooked up. There's the picking coming through as well.
Wow.
Does pop his ultimate, somehow lives despite the ultimate coming through for Syndra.
Hexdrinker, Janna shield. I mean, they realize they're trying to get not one shot by Choo-Choo's here. Their itemization's doing so, which does leave them a little bit more open to all the physical damage of Cardric.
Rosie does get hooked up, box in there as well. The culling will come through. Rosie just dies there as Cardric gets the last 2 ticks. Now Carbon going to go and kicks out Swiper. He's going to dive back into the team. The shock blast hits so many. That AoE, but Swiper, there's no one to follow up. Tallywhacker's right in the front line. Pops the equalizer there as well onto Swiffer. Going to go in under the turret, but gets blown up by Radiant. Bit of a misstep there by Rumble.
Couple of small mistakes there, but overall you're seeing what the Legacy comp can do over and over and over again. Someone lands a hook, someone lands Scatter the Weak, and over again, Chiefs, they only have 1 tank, and they can try to shield the damage, but it keeps coming through over and over again. And the point I was trying to finish here is, because they're a double AP comp, Cardric is actually got a lot of eyes on him. So much MR is going to generally be built by this blue team here. You're seeing first item Banshee's Veil here for Swiper. Rosie's also rushing for the Aegis as well. Hexdrinker picked up by Spooks. Cardric is actually set up to clean up every single battle, especially with a flat armor pen coming in from Yomi's.
And Lucian's just a great janitor champion. Loves to sweep in team fights, especially with all this AoE and just clean house. So Legacy have got themselves a 2,000 gold lead, being up 2 kills, have both dragons as well, I believe, and down, despite being down 2 turrets. 3 dragons, excuse me. So a nice little lead here, but nothing really to write home about at the 23.5-minute mark. So we have to continue to watch. Item spikes are hitting now as well. Choo-Choo's has now got his Rabadon's death cap, which is so great in this situation.
That is massive. The problem is, though, a lot of Negatron cloaks have come in for the lineup. 2 in the inventories. One of them going to become, again, an Aegis fairly soon in this one. And in fact, I'm actually a little bit surprised that Rosie's not actually getting an earlier Mikhail's Crucible to remove some of these picks, get his own MR, but let someone else go for the Aegis here, just to get all the important items done sooner to prevent a lot of what Legacy's going to do. But in general, especially if Choo just keeps getting money, when that Void Step comes in as well, he's going to get even farther ahead of the item curve, even farther ahead of all those Negatron cloaks. It's kind of a battle of gold in that specific case, and the Dragons are helping him stay ahead of that curve.
Yeah, nice little juke there by Swiffer as well, and completely agree, Freak. you know, the items that are coming are good, but it's all about timing in a kind of a battle of mid-game comps, as we harped on about a little during the draft. The next dragon not quite up yet, so we're going to be fighting for, it looks like mid-turret. Legacy want to get that as their next objective, but a lot of poke here from the Chiefs. They can defend pretty reasonably from all of this. And yeah, they're just going to clear out waves very comfortably here.
Yeah, and that's one of the cool things about a poke comp, especially when you have AoE poke. 3 of which are ludicrously good, plus Oceanic, who's good at this as well. You have such good turret defense. Chiefs are very, very good around turrets. They're very good. You can see everything. When you're fighting a 1,200 range away from your opponents, you can see everything that goes in. There's no tricky plays that are available. That is ideal for Chiefs. That's why they're going for turrets. That's why they're defending turrets. These very obvious situations are the ones that go into their advantage, but it's the crazy jungle fights playmaking that's better for Legacy.
Oh, Radiant just dodged so many skill shots. That's Eden though. Getting it out to Rosie. Double fight comes out. Swiper though is back. He's teleported in. Now Chooches gonna get exploded upon a Swiper. Does on top. But there's the kill on Corki actually as Rumble gets that. Shunta took out Kartik as well. There's another hook by Eden, but Jace picked up Syndra. Kartik are now gonna pick up by Swiffer. He gets a double kill. Rosie cutting back and forth. So many low members. There's the quadra kill for Jace. And Eden run away. Do not donate the Penta. And Jace turned that around. 4 for 2 the trade.
Wow, he was 2 and 3 before that fight. Gets the quadra. Beautiful cleanup there by Swiffer. He could do more than poke for sure. The rest of his team taking it out. The Janna shields, the Maokai ulti making that happen. Such beautiful play by Chiefs.
And I have to agree, like, Jace is one of those champions that's so versatile. You know, everyone's like, oh, he's a poke champion, got a kind of a short-range semi-AD carry. But Jace has so many options. Using him effectively as a mid laner is really difficult because you have to go through. But it seems like we are going to do a replay now, Freak.
And this is kind of the thing, is there's actually no armor built up yet by the Legacy lineup, so just basically watch Swiffer. Swiffer is kind of battling to be, am I the best mid laner Oceania? He used to be definitely for a while, and he just goes on to just great early damage onto this one, and he sticks to the target. He says, look, I'm going to get one guy down at a time. He's basically playing as a clean-up marksman, sets up a great set of shock blasts and stuff. Here, Carbon nearly just gets blown up by this one. Look at that, beautiful snipe. And it's just the fact that the rest of his team has been taking damage the whole time. And because he's been removing damage threats himself, getting rid of the Syndra very early on, no one's there left to go after him.
And you can see Chiefs continuing to defend, and Swiffer, some big items coming through now as well. We've got Muramana and the last Swiffer, plus a BF Sword and the Brutalizer all completed now. And this poke just keeps getting worse and worse for Legacy.
And this is one of the interesting things is there's so many high damage threats. Honestly, on both lineups, team fights are not easy to coordinate. Because you destroy one people, you've only removed a third of the damage of it from the team. And you can see anyone, Swiffer, Raydeer, Spooks. On the other side, Taliwaka, Choo-Choos, and Cardred, all of them are able to clean up fights kind of by themselves. And so you've got to be very aware of how many resources you're committing to destroy one person, because the next guy in line can take you guys back.
Yeah, and that dragon is now going to be started off by Chiefs. I was going to ask you who's going to get the next dragon, Freak, but it is going to be Chiefs. Looks like they will be traded for the tower. The Cardred actually does not ride the lantern, gets caught a little bit out, but he should be okay as the Chiefs are going to try and counter push up either the mid or the bottom lane, which they're pinging onto as well. No blue buff there. Spooks going to check this push. They'll find the pink ward.
Rosie might, yeah, he will.
There we go.
And I'm very impressed by both these teams, their ability to take cross-map objectives. When a dragon is taken, something else goes down. When there's a push somewhere, someone else is doing something useful. Very, very smart for these guys to not just go, let's just bash heads and do the same thing over and over again, but say, okay, well, you go for this, I'll go for something else. And they're trading fairly equally when that happens. So even though you're seeing things like, oh, it's 3-1 in dragons, well, but it's 4-2 in turrets as a result of that.
Yeah, I mean, objective damage control is actually something that is one of my favorite traits. Never mind, Equalizer coming in. They're going to try and stop, but Chiefs immediately disengaged there. Just walked out.
Yeah, they tried to set up the play, but the whole rest of the team was too far away. And the thing is, next wave's coming. These guys are actually fairly healthy still. Only Spooks is really injured, and he can heal up off this white, as you're seeing on this one. So now you're just kind of fighting without a Rumble ultimate, and the poke's going to keep landing. This is not good for Legacy.
Rosie could be in trouble, does get ulted there, but there's Swiper going in, picks up the kill on the Choo-Choos. Rosie will fall as Cardro gets that kill, but the Chiefs are more than happy with this exchange. Carbon is so low on Lee Sin as well. And the Jace, they can't stop it right now. Chiefs are going to go in onto this tier 2 turret, and they do pick it up.
Yeah, Ijum kind of baited his team there. Again, we were fighting without a Rumble ultimate. Many people on the team were poked out. A hook on the support doesn't matter. It's a 3-threat comp. Even 4, kind of, if you count Swiper in this one. That means killing the Janna doesn't really matter. He pops the ulti, buys a couple more seconds, then everyone else just destroys the enemy team on Legacy. And you got to be really aware of who you're actually going for.
And now we mentioned top laners, Freak. I know Spawn has a very strong opinion on this particular Rumble build that we're seeing from Taliwaka. What is your opinion as an analyst on the Ryle's Crystal Scepter second?
I kind of agree with Spawn here. I don't super love Ryle's. Now that it's a lot more ability, probably if it's 100, it's a bit better of a damage item. But honestly, we're just talking about how much Swiffer's dealing damage and how much Kha'Zix is scary as well. If you're not buying armor against a team like this, it's, I think, a gigantic risk to go for. I would actually prefer something like a Death Cap or Void Staff for damage output, or Zhonya's for durability.
Getting obliterated, just gets out the lance in there as well. But Swiffer's damage is just dumb right now.
Right. And again, same thing for Carmen. I don't understand why he's going for a magic resist item when the only magic damage is the mediocre magic damage of a Corki and you know, a fairly tanky Maokai here in the top lane. It's clearly Kha'Zix and Jace doing all the work, and no one's buying armor. And
I mean, we talk about Jace, he's doing a lot of work indeed. Radio is horrifying as well now with his 2-item power spike on Corki. He's got pretty much the max damage for the 2.5 items, Sword Truth, Trinity Force, and Infinity Edge.
Yeah.
We gave him quite a bit of flack at EV Expo for playing with the wrong King Corki, but I guess he's changed his mind a bit.
I think this is the ideal Corki build right here. Right, the early power spike from Triforce Sork Shoes is the best way to be level 9 in the game. I think it's like the best AD carry at level 9 in the game. Maybe rivaled by Lucian, but that's kind of it. The transition from here lets him play a decent late game where you start adding attack speed, and you start adding critical strike after this one. You actually want to buy a Shiv or a Phantom Dancer next in this kind of build, or lifesteal, depending on if you feel like you're unsafe. But you kind of keep going down this auto-attack-centric build from here, and you stay relevant all game long.
Yeah, because your spells are just always good. You know, they're going to do their damage.
You can't further scale them at this point anyway, unless you like really want to go hardcore Void Staff, which...
Probably not. I mean,
Leandry's Corki I want to see once a competitive. Because you tend to run him in all AD comps, like this one. Again, I don't count Maokai as a big damage threat. Leandry's Corki honestly kind of works.
Yeah, just Valkyrie in all the damage.
Well, no, you just R people, and like it lasts until your next R lands. It's actually not bad.
Slow their lands. Actually, Spook's not going to get aggressed on the ultimate. Will pop there for Taliwaka, but Swipe is disrupting in the backline. Rosie trying to find a line as well. Radiant blows up Taliwaka. There's Choo-Choo's getting knocked back in as well. The double kill for Corki as Syndra's going to go down. And now Carter and Egypt completely got out of position. The poke will come through. Not quite enough CC. They don't care. They're going to run down the mid lane.
Man, I am impressed by Chief's ability to follow up on plays despite having not much crowd control. They just follow up with damage, and people are falling over. Chiefs just did such a good job of controlling vision. Look at the wards of the map right now. Look how little Legacy can actually see around this map, and it paid off for Chiefs right there. Great pick, great opening. They're going to get probably an inhibitor for this.
Yeah, one thing I kind of like to look at is this inhib should go down here. Ejim will fish for a hook, but cannot find it. Oh, it's back. Swiper really wants to kill on Carter. Good flash actually from Lucian to keep him safe, but that inhibitor is going to go down, and Chiefs put themselves in a commanding position, 6,000 gold ahead.
At 6,000 gold ahead, mid inhibitor gone as well. These guys can play around this so very well, and on top of that, there's not even many wards up right here. So mid lane pushing up on top of that one means it's hard for vision control to even come in for Legacy here, and there's a gigantic uphill battle, especially when things like that happen.
Conjured Swipper. Very bloodthirsty right now on this Jason. You mentioned warding. One of my favorite little metrics about trying to determine, oh, never mind, Spooks is going to go in. Once Ejim actually does find the slow carbon off around to the side, a decent play might keep him alive. But there's the poke coming in. Spooks lands yet another W. That's going to slow him once again. And there's Swiffer. Just deletes him from the map. Carbon now could be in trouble. Also, Swipe is going to lock him up. The damage follows in. There's the double for Jason. Cardred kind of throws out the culling, wants to, you know, do something for his support and mourn his loss, but there's 2 free kills for Chiefs, and now maybe Baron.
This could be a pretty clean Baron, honestly. Okay, Taliwaka is alive, and if you're in a Baron pit, Rumble is the best champion in the game to defend a Baron attempt right here. So there is a chance for Legacy, a beautiful equalizer. Chiefs, oh, that stun's gonna help too.
It's a good double stun, but Swiper popping that out. Rosie will reset with Monster, gets knocked up by Baron. That's not at all what he wanted, but they're gonna try to go for it. Choo-Choo's wants to fish for the steal, but Spooks with a nice smite under pressure does give them the Baron.
A nice attempt there, but you're seeing the locket did come through for Rosie. He prioritized that as his first major item, and it paid off pretty large right there. The shield helped them kill the mid inhibitor turret. The MR aura was freaking massive to not die to Baron right there, and the Rumble ulti, so very smart by him. And I'm sure Krepa would be happy as well that he's not rushing a Frostqueen's claim,
yes,
so buddy, I got you on this one, don't worry.
And again about warding, it's one of those things where you actually highlighted how the Chiefs play perfectly. Yeah. They
honestly
love to just get deep wards in, pressure their opponent around the map, and just kind of grind them out and take over the game. And again, my favorite little metric for determining who's got what section of the map is just look at the line of pink wards. Where are they on the map? How far forward or back are they for each team? Chiefs right now, the only ones with pink wards. I mean, there's one in the base for Legacy right now, one to their red buff. You can just see they've got neutral pink wards here at the river, and all the pink wards for Legacy are defensive.
Exactly. The only reason Chiefs don't have any wards left from the top jungle is because they kind of cashed them in killing Baron. They left that area of the map, walked back to base and healed up afterwards. They haven't been there in 3 minutes, but that's fine. They got a big neutral objective off of it. They got Dragon as well. Now they can set up for the bot lane on top of that one. Mid's going to push out for them. This is perfect.
Yeah, and actually Swiper may be baiting here. There's so many members of Legacy, actually 4 up here with Swiper. Still going in now, 1v4. Can he get a kill? He's going to buy some time. He does a decent job of it, but Carter's going to get that kill. Choo-Choo's, though, cannot defend 4 members of the Chiefs. They're just going to go out onto this turret. Recall button's being smashed by the Legacy keyboards, but this tower should go down. Potentially that inhibitor's going as well.
Yeah, they bought a couple of home guard boots to defend faster, so the inhibitor itself won't die, but the turret goes down, which is pretty much just as good at this point. Swiper respawns in 30 seconds. He's got his teleport still up, so all the tools are still here for the Chiefs. They are in very good form to close out game 1. A very close early game, to be fair, but they were a late game comp in the first place. They were smart. They gave away the Dragons. They couldn't contest. They did a pretty good job of taking objectives elsewhere on the map when the Dragons were being taken. And then once their spikes did come in, once Muramana was done things like that, they just started crushing.
Oh, Carbon's going to kick him over the train. Swiffer, though, will blow up that jungler. Carbon's going to get the kill. No! Carbon actually lives by flashing over the wall. They're going to exhaust on the Swiffer. Going in, the exhaust comes up, and Swiffer going to go for the 1v2 and cleans out the double kill.
Wow, I thought for sure that was a great play for Legacy, but my God, that get turned around. Beautiful by how freaking fed Swiffer is.
Oh, by the way, Radiant killed someone else as well. Tallywhacker went down. Just in case we weren't sure the Chiefs were ahead in this game. Swiper getting aggressive. Choo-Choo gets exploded by all that damage from the Chiefs, and they're going to push in. They don't even want the other inhibitor. They're just going to go in for the game.
This is going to be GG right here. 36 minutes. Chiefs took their time getting out of the early game. They gave away what they had to. Inhibitor respawns. There we go. Take one back down. That's right. It's not going to be enough. MVP inhibitor not going to happen. 20-12. Good game. #1 goes to Chiefs.
And the Chiefs, what a performance right here with a bit of style at the end. Back flashes back over the Nexus. And again, a really close early game. Egypt was on form in the first 15 minutes of that game, but they could not find a mid-game slot where they could keep pushing the little leads they had. And Chiefs exploded. I said it was a Jason-centric comp. Swiffer had to go big. He went Titanic in that game.
Oh my God, I just can't sort of sing enough praises here for Chiefs. Egypt landed that many hooks, and I know if I were Radier, I would have died 7 times and lost lane horribly. Radier kept equal in CS despite how well Egypt was playing. That's impressive on its own right, let alone, I mean, okay, yeah, you got hooked, but like to survive that lane again, absolutely impressive. Second to that, Chiefs as a team, they said, okay, they're really good, better than us until 20 minutes. Their comp is going to completely crush us. They didn't even try to contest neutrals before 20 minutes. They pushed turrets instead, and so they didn't do more than, okay, have 900 gold. 900 gold, not the end of the world, not a very big deal. It clearly showed they're the first 3 Dragons uncontested. Still wasn't enough for Legacy. Chiefs basically did damage control for the early game, got out of their lanes, and then said, guys, we get power spikes. Let's go. And it was perfect.
Yeah, and we talked about mid-game comps. The Chiefs had one hell of a mid-game to round out that game, but looks like, Frick, we are going to throw it to a replay.
All right, let's pull this one up here and see which battle this one is. This is, oh yeah, this is kind of the end game pick here. Egypt makes some nice moves. This is a good hook on Spooks. He actually guesses where he dodges. This is sick by Carbon as well. It's a good setup, all that's fun. But then, the problem is there's just so much gold. Swiffer is in a 1v2, exhausts for part of it, and it just doesn't even matter. Like, he's on top of an equalizer at the same time, but it's a power spike Jace with a Baron buff. Rumble actually follows through, kind of going the wrong way at that point as well, but that's what a gold lead will do for you. Yeah. That's what a significantly fed Jace can do. He's actually, even though he's considered a poke champion, he's incredibly well-rounded as long as you survive in melee form. And he did so. He just did so much burst. Every single fight, he was getting a lot of cleanups by the time we got through into mid-game. And, I mean, that was just a Jace hard carry.
Yeah, really well. Swiffer, again, kind of an emotional player. Definitely wants momentum on his side. We'll absolutely have it now going into Game 2. But we'll be right back, guys. We've got to take a quick break. Game 2 of this best of 3 series between Legacy and Chiefs is coming right up.